Hi everyone, Janie here. Welcome back to my garden. Here in California, we are having a very, very cold beginning of December. We are in the 40s. I think the very highest temperature is getting to today is 52 degrees Fahrenheit, which for us is very cold. This is like end of December, beginning of January type temperatures. So very, very cold. I am taking a break today and I'm inside my nice heated office. I am right in the middle of a front patio makeover. I put out part one yesterday. If you haven't seen that video, I will link it in the description below and at the end of this video as well. And I just want to say thank you all so much for your comments and your suggestions. You guys have given me so many good ideas for like decoration and other things to do. And I just love having you guys here, helping me make decisions that I've been kind of stuck on. So that's a really fun makeover that's happening right now, but not today because it's a little too cold and I'm right in the middle of painting and it's actually too cold to paint. So taking a little break today, and we are talking about plants today. And in December, I like, it's time to kind of slow down in the garden. It's time to kind of relax and reflect. And it's just about time to start thinking about next season. And just stay with me here. One of my favorite things to do in this time of year is to plan my garden for next season. It's like I get in this mode of reflection and I start thinking about what plants performed really well for me this past season, what plants maybe didn't perform as well for me this past season and that I kind of want to stay away from, what plants I want to add to my garden next year. And I just kind of start thinking about it. And pretty soon I'll get out my colored pencils and paper and start, planning everything that I'm going to do for the next year. And it's just one of my favorite things to do. Hold on, Monty's coming in. Are you coming in out of the cold? Yes, it's freezing. I know. Stay inside here. Anyway, so it's just about that time for planning. And I thought that I would take today while I'm inside to talk about a couple plants that really surprised me this year. Now, I have my favorites that I absolutely love. Plain the blue salvia. You can't beat that plant. I mean, that is just one of the greatest plants ever, also known as Mystic Spire's blue salvia. It's still blooming. It is still blooming December 1st after a week of cold, and it's just still looking beautiful. Helen von Stein Lamsier, Surefire Rose Begonia. Those are some of my absolute favorite plants to plant in my garden. I'm Zone 9B, Northern California, and I could talk about those plants, but I feel like I've talked those plants to death. And I wanted to talk about plants that kind of surprised me this year. Plants that I'm not super familiar with, maybe was trialing a little bit this year to see how they would do in my garden, and just some that really impressed me. And I want to invite all of you to add the plants that impressed you in the comment section below, and make sure you add your zone and maybe your region, just so that we know and we can get some good ideas when we're getting in that planning mode. All right, so the very first plant I want to talk about today that surprised me this year, this season in my garden, is my Alstroemeria Summer Break, my Peruvian lily. This was a new to me plant. I actually have never planted Alstroemeria before, which I know is crazy. A lot of people have planted it, but sometimes, I don't know, sometimes it just looks like kind of an old-fashioned plant to me and not one that I want to have in my garden. But the Summer Break variety from Proven Winners, I just thought was so beautiful. The pink color was so gorgeous, and I just thought, okay, I had to try them. They're new in garden centers this year. They just came out this year for Proven Winners. And so I planted them in early July, and they have been blooming non-stop. Non-stop blooming. And even today, just before I started filming, I went out and I took a video of them looking absolutely beautiful, so gorgeous in my December garden. So I am so excited. Even if I get half of a year of these beautiful perennials blooming in my garden, I will be super happy. So I can't wait to see how they do next year. But I just have to say, they are They are just amazing. Now, I planted them in a little bit of shade because I am in zone 9. They are hardy zones 6 through 9, and I read that in the hotter zones, you want to give them a little bit of protection. So I actually I put them on the north on my long border, which is up against a north-facing fence, and then also under my neighbor's almond tree. So they get a little bit of sun, but they're definitely protected, and they are thanking me for it. They are just, you guys, they are so beautiful, and I haven't actually cut them for arrangements yet, but I've read that they do really, really well in arrangements. So really I should go cut them, for in here or something like that. They're about 3.5 feet tall and 3 feet wide. Mine are kind of new, so they're not their full size yet, but they are stunning. They are so beautiful, and I want all the colors of this. I'm sure Proven Winners is coming out with other colors, and I cannot wait to try them. And I'm just obsessed with these. So the next plant that really impressed me this year is another one that I had preconceived notions about. I was judgmental. I was judgy about this plant, and I feel really, really bad about it because I should have, I don't know where I got this judgment, but I remember telling my mom that I would never plant this plant in my garden, which is just absolutely crazy. And that one is Ajuga, and I specifically have the variety Mahogany Ajuga, and I have it planted underneath my Platinum Beauty Lamandra over by my Espalier, and oh my goodness, I am in love with this ground cover. The glossy dark foliage of the Mahogany Ajuga it just brings so much depth to the garden. Like, I can't explain it. I just think it is so, so pretty. And I think that I've seen it in garden centers, and I've seen it sitting there in garden centers, and it doesn't look like too much, but the stats on it are it'll get about 2 to 6 inches tall and then 12 to 24 inches wide. So it forms a mat, like like ground cover. And once you get it growing in your garden, it's just so pretty. And I feel really bad about talking bad about Ajuga because I think it is gorgeous. Now, I reserve the right to change my mind on this because my friend Robbie came over and he said he ended up taking Ajuga out of his garden because he didn't like it once it got old and woody. So I've only had mine in about halfway through the year, maybe a little bit more than halfway through the year. So maybe once it gets old and woody, I won't like it as much, but for right now, I want it all over my garden. I think it is so incredibly beautiful. I just think it is gorgeous, and it has just surprised me how beautiful it's been. So it comes in a whole bunch of different colors. It comes in green and variegated. I love the dark one, but I need to try the other ones because obviously I had, I was judgy about this before. I need to try the other varieties and see how they do. I haven't even seen it bloom yet. They get little purple blooms on them. And so I'm so shocked and surprised how much I really like the Ajuga in my garden. And I'm so happy that I decided to plant it because it just made that whole area. It just really, really made it. So that's another one that really surprised me this year, and it surprised me how much I really enjoyed it. So on to the next plant that really surprised me this year, and I was really, really impressed with. And this is another Proven Winners plant. As you know, most of my garden is Proven Winners plants, but sometimes they impress me because sometimes Proven Winners is a Midwest company, and they have a lot of plants that are focused on the Midwest climates and not as many on, the hotter, warmer climates like California, hotter and drier. That's why I have the Best for the West collection, which is a collection of plants that have thrived in my hot, dry California garden. And there's so many more that I can add to that list, and I hope to add to that list, but I've been trying different plants out, and maybe plants that Proven Winners hasn't really talked too much about. And one of them, a perfect example of that, is the Bambino collection of Bougainvillea, or Bougainvillea, however you want to pronounce it. So at my last house, I planted Barbara Karst Bougainvillea, and it was beautiful. I had it growing up my back wall. It was really gorgeous. The only problem with it, regular Bougainvillea, is it goes everywhere. It is a weed. It grows so so fast, and you don't really want to prune it that much, because the more you prune it, the less bracts or blooms that you have, right? So you're constantly kind of fighting a battle between keeping it contained and keeping it in a place that you want it to grow, but then having the blooms for it. And so I decided not to plant bougainvillea in this garden here until I was talking to Spring Meadow, and which is the grower for Proven Winners shrubs, and they told me to try Bambino, the Bambino variety of bougainvillea, which stays small. It stays 3 to 4 feet, I think 3 to 4 feet, 2 to 3 feet. It stays 2 to 3 feet tall and wide. And like, compare this to a regular bougainvillea that can get 12, 14, 16 feet tall and wide and just goes absolutely everywhere. So I planted the variegated orange Bambino Bougainvillea in my center island, and it was such a showstopper. First of all, I didn't have to touch it. I didn't have to do anything to it. I didn't have to prune it. I didn't have to worry about it at all, because I knew that it had grown to its maximum potential, and that was it. And because of that, it was allowed to bloom and really do its thing, you know what I mean? And it really bloomed. And bougainvillea is known to be very temperamental. You don't want to mess with it, because the more you mess with it, the less it'll bloom. You want to just basically ignore it. And so that's what I did with this Bambino variegated orange, and it was just a showstopper. It was so beautiful. Planted another one. This one actually looks like the Barbara Karst color. It's called Claret Red. There's also a burnt orange, there's a lilac color, and then there's a purple color as well. So if you live in a hot climate, zones 9 through 11, when I went to Arizona this past year for a Best for the West event, I was looking around at all the different plants that they had in the garden centers, and they had tons of this variety there. So if you see it, if you live in that area, go find a Bambino Bougainvillea and plant it, because it is such a good plant. I am so happy with it. I am on the border, the low end of the hardiness zone, but I think it's going to be okay. If I ever had like a freeze or something, like a really cold spell coming, that's probably one of the plants that I would go and protect and put harvest guard over it. But for 99% of the year, I don't have to worry about it at all, which is really great. And it really shocked and impressed me how much I liked this plant this past season. So the next plant that really impressed me this past year, and I have plans to plant so much more of this plant in my garden next year, is actually a plant that I had never grown before. It's a new to me plant. You all know this plant. It's Gaura, and I actually planted Stratosphere White and Stratosphere Pink Gaura in my garden, and I was just so impressed. It's just another one of those plants. Like, why have I not planted this in my garden before? It is such a beautiful, beautiful plant, just tall, wispy foliage and the beautiful blooms on it. And it bloomed for so long. I cannot wait for next season, because I'm going to be planting so much more of this plant, and I'm going to take better care of it. I just left it. I didn't deadhead it. I didn't cut it back. I didn't do anything to my Gaura all season long, and it did really good. I was really impressed with it. But the more that I learned about it, like I said, this is the first year I've ever planted Gaura. The more that I learned about it, I learned that it's good to cut it back a couple times, and then it can flush back. So I'm gonna be cutting it back next season and see how it does. I am just so excited about Gaura. I think it is so incredibly beautiful, such a gorgeous plant, and such a great texture addition to your garden. Texture is such an important, color is important in your garden, size and shape and form is important in your garden, but texture is just key. It is so important, and having the texture of Gaura in your garden, just to me, it just really does something. And I can't believe how much I loved it this past season. Its hardiness zones is zones 6 through 10. So it's technically a perennial or a temperennial for me. And I am so excited. I am so excited about this plant. Like I said, I cannot wait to plant it all over. I want to plant it all up and down my dry creek bed. I want to plant it all around my greenhouse. This is definitely one that I am adding to my planning, my diagrams, all that kind of stuff, because now I know how much I love it and what an impact it can make in your garden. So the next plant that really surprised me for how much I really, really enjoyed it this year is kind of, to to me is kind of a boring plant. It's kind of a plant that you don't really think about. It's a structure plant. It's a winter interest plant, and that is my Sprinter Boxwoods in my secret garden. I cannot even tell you all how excited I get when I walk through my secret garden and I see my hedge of Sprinter Boxwoods and they're starting to grow and they're already getting new growth on them. I think I'm maturing as a gardener because I love blooms and I love color. And whenever I plant something, I always want it to have a bloom on it. And I always want it to have as much color as I can possibly have. But I'm really starting to appreciate foundation plants, right? And I think that that's probably because I've been in my garden for a while and, you know, it's time to add some foundation plants. And I know a lot of you have been saying, you need more foundation plants. I love planting what I love, and it just took me some time to get to the point to really love something like a boxwood. So I planted a whole bunch of Sprinter Boxwoods, which get about 3 to 4 feet tall, 3 to 4 feet wide. You can, of course, clip them back. They grow really, really fast, which is fun. I can already see new growth on them, like I was saying, but I'm surprised how much I really, really enjoyed seeing the Sprinter Boxwoods, looking out the window, seeing the secret garden, walking through the secret garden and just seeing that form. And, you know, and even now they still have the foliage, they're evergreen and they just look so good. They just look so beautiful. And so this next year, I'm definitely going to be adding more foundation plants. I love that look where you keep the boxwoods in the sphere forms and you mass plant them all together. I love that look and I want to add that look in my garden next year in some places. And so the Sprinter Boxwoods, just, I absolutely love it. And I'm in zone 9B. We get really hot. We have to be a little bit careful. Sometimes boxwood doesn't always work for us, but the Sprinter Boxwoods can handle our heat. And so it is just a really, really great plant that I'm shocked how much I like it, because this is so not like me, you guys. It is not like me to like just a green evergreen plant. Like, how boring. But I have enjoyed it so much this year. I am excited to add more in. Like I said, I'm maturing as a gardener. I'm so proud of myself. Okay, and then last but not least, I feel like you guys are gonna roll your eyes when I say my next one, but I had to leave it on the list because it has surprised me so much how much I love this plant. I know I talk about it all the time. It's El Niño Chitalpa. You guys, I know, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I always talk about how much I love this plant, but it is like rising in the ranks of some of my favorite plants. Like, it's right up there next to plain the blue salvia. I just think it is such a beautiful specimen in your garden. It blooms all season long. It is so gorgeous. If only it was an evergreen, it would be perfect, but that's okay. I'll take that it's not an evergreen, but I just think that this plant is absolutely beautiful. Now, you know, disclaimer, you know, not everybody has as much success as I do with this plant. If you live in a humid environment, I don't think I would recommend this plant for you, but if you live in a dry, hot area, this is the plant to get in your garden. It's hardy zones 6 through 9. It gets up to 15 feet tall, 10 feet wide. I have mine in full sun. It says part sun to full sun, but I have mine in full sun and I can't see planting it in anything less than that. I cannot get over, like I said, I love blooms. I love flowers. I love color. And this plant gives you that, and it gives you scent, and it gives you structure, and it gives you like impact in your garden, and it grows so quickly. I'm sorry. I won't stop talking about it. I just love this plant. So we've got Summer Break Alstroemeria, a beautiful, beautiful perennial that blooms all summer, all fall, and into winter. I guess we're not technically winter yet, but it feels like winter. Oh, just absolutely gorgeous. Mahogany Ajuga. I cannot wait to try other Ajuga, but I'm shocked with how much I love that plant. Bambino Bougainvillea. What a genius. Solving the problem with bougainvillea, keeping it dwarf like that. It's just genius. And I just absolutely love that. And then Sprinter Boxwood. like, I get it. I get it now why everybody talks about what a great plant it is. Absolutely great plant. And then of course, El Niño Chitalpa. So those are the plants that really surprised me this year for how much I actually loved them. And, you know, I don't want to say those are my only favorites because like I said, I have my favorites, you know, the ones that I love, but I've talked about those to death. I know El Niño Chitalpa needs to be moved over to that list and it probably will next year, but for now it's going on this list, the plant that really surprised and shocked me for how much I actually really enjoyed it. So now, having talked about the plants that really impressed me and surprised me this past year, I want to go from reflection mode to kind of planning mode. And this, you know, I don't actually like sit down and start thinking about it. It just, these plants pop up in my mind as I'm going about my day, or I'm, you know, watching videos or doing garden tours or something like that. So I kind of have a list in my mind of plants that I want to try next season in my garden. And hopefully next December, I'll be able to make a video about these plants, about how much they surprised me and how much I enjoyed them. So the first one I'm really excited to try in my garden is a barberry. When I was at Roberta Walker's garden, I did a garden tour of Roberta Walker's garden, and she talked about how much she likes using barberry in her garden, and specifically the Sunjoy Neo from Proven Winners. There's a new variety coming out next year called Sunjoy Fast Neo, and that is supposed to be just a faster growing, little bit bigger one. And the color on this barberry is so beautiful. It's so beautiful. I think it will just be such a fabulous addition to my garden. And so it is definitely a plant that I want to try. I've never tried barberry before. I don't have deer here, so I don't have to worry about deer. So I don't usually plant deer, you know, deer resistant plants like barberry, but the more I look at it, it's kind of like the Sprinter Boxwood. The more it's like, wow, that's a really great, beautiful foundation plant that I want to definitely try in my garden. So that is one that is on my list and is going to be part of my planning, and I'm excited to see how it does. Another one that I really want to try is actually part of the Proven Winners Plant of the Year program. So right here, I have their 2026 preview catalog, which is so fun. I love looking through stuff like this and this thing, but they have their National Plant of the Year program. And what this is this is the program that basically tells us and tells garden centers what everybody's going to be talking about this year, what they think everybody's going to be talking about. And it makes it so that you're going to be able to find these plants in your local garden centers a lot more than some of the other plants. And they have a newish collection plant of the year called Landscape Annual of the Year. And the Landscape Annual of the Year is the Cleome, or Cleome, I think it's Cleome, but the Señorita Rosalita. And I have never planted this plant before. And I kind of think it's going to be like Gaura. I have to wait and I have to see, but it's just, I love trying new plants, and I'm just so excited to try the Señorita Rosalita. It just is such a beautiful plant. I saw it when I was at, a couple years ago, when I went to Tracy from Plaid and Poppies on Instagram. If you haven't seen that video, or if you haven't seen pictures of her garden on Instagram, she has the most beautiful garden, and she has my taste. She likes color, and she had this one planted in her garden the year that I went and visited her, and it was just so beautiful. So this is definitely one that I want to try in my garden next year. And then very last, the next plant that I really want to try in my garden this year that I've been kind of looking at, it's been popping up in some of my feeds and, you know, videos and stuff like that, is ground cover jasmine, or Asiatic or Asian jasmine. This to me is such an interesting plant. I love star jasmine. I think star jasmine is so beautiful. And technically you can use star jasmine as a ground cover, but to me it's like a big bulky ground cover. And Asian jasmine, I've seen people use it as ground cover and then clip it so that it's like very, very short and it just covers the ground. And my goal for my garden is to have no soil. I want no ground. I don't want to mulch anymore. I want everything to be covered. And so I really want to try Asiatic or Asian jasmine as a ground cover in my garden, because to me, it looks really beautiful, especially when you clip it nice and tight. Like, it's almost like a sea of green. To me, it just looks so pretty. So that is definitely on my list, and I will be planting that as ground cover all around all around my garden, if it works out, again, it has to be another trial. I tried a couple other ground covers this year, including the Ajuga, and a lot of them just didn't really work for me. It didn't like woolly thyme, is that what it was? Yeah, woolly thyme didn't really work. I think that we're just too hot here. And then there was one other one, Blue Star Creeper. I tried Blue Star Creeper as a ground cover in my garden and it dried up like that, even with drip irrigation to it. It was just far too hot for it. I probably planted at the wrong time of year anyway. I bet if I planted it now, it would do better. But like I said, my goal is to get lots and lots of ground cover. And I know jasmine does beautifully here, star jasmine. So I'm excited to try the Asiatic jasmine and see how it goes. And then the Asian jasmine also comes in a tricolor where it's green, white, and pink, which I thought was so beautiful. So I want to try that as well. So that's definitely on my list of some ground covers to try, as well as the barberry, and then also the Cleome. How do you pronounce that? How to pronounce Cleome? Cleome. All right. So Cleome, the barberry, and then also the Asian jasmine. I'm really excited to try next year. So hopefully this video helped you all out in your reflection and your planning stages for our gardens next season. I love this time of year when you get to start planning. It's so fun. So anyway, I hope you all enjoyed this, and I hope you all have a chance to get in your garden today.